So welcome everyone. This is Dr. Alana, and this is the last 15 minutes for, and this is the last one of 3 15-minute boosts on organizing. This one is about organizing your ideas for writing. And we're going to look at the overview quickly, what we've talked about before, leading into piles of stuff that you have. Takes all kinds of forms, doesn't it? And then you're sitting down to write and you're in the place of, well, where did I put that? And how does that go together? And how can I be really comfortable I'm not forgetting something that a few months ago I thought was important? And I think every writer has these challenges, but there are some solutions that we'll talk about quickly. And then we have been tying the thread of how do we keep our reflective critical analysis as part of this solid in our heads. I'll touch on that again, and then we'll have questions and answers at wooclap.com/15 minutes. And you can ask questions about anything. In fact, some have already come in. So lots of stuff. This is briefly, when we started this, we talked about ideas, and this slide boils down to the fact that you have an idea, and whether you're going to use it right away or you're going to use it later, it amounts to sorting it. You're sorting it into a pile that you're going to use, or you're sorting it into a pile that has a longer range sort involved. And then when we have so much stuff, when knowledge comes to us in so many ways, then we need to have systems that support us. And those systems are often tied together in our technology. So bibliographic software, a must for everyone, a must that it holds the PDF and it also holds the notes, or something that does the same. So qualitative software can do most of, if not all of that now. And so we're seeing some technological shifts, and qualitative software has the advantage in that we can then code bigger quantities of stuff and do our overview right there in the software. And I've covered that in some previous 15 minutes this fall. And then folders, we all have to have good folders. And what they're really good folders when they say the same thing that everything else says. So my team is always giving me a hard time because my language shifts over time. And even though the words mean the same thing, they aren't exactly the same words, and they don't tie up one to one. So that's how we put things together. And then on a personal level, on a mind level, we may mind map or write notes. I personally use Evernote. There are a number of note kinds of software, but I've been an Evernote user for 100 years. And then we have collaborative tools that come in. So of course, the cause of this whole thing is that when you have so many bits and pieces, then the question becomes, how do we keep it together, and how do we not have too much or too little? So I won't go through this one. This is what we talked about last week. It's the basic flow of writing. You're going to either use it now. It boils down to a few basic things. You're either going to use it now, and if so, you do. But if you're not going to use it now, then the sorting into where it goes and how you know where it is. And this was the basic sorting. Today, we're going to get into that sorting as it goes to writing. So if you've heard me talk before about writing, you know that I always start with this visual, because this visual is about your reader. And no good writer just writes. Writers write for readers. So you have to do some thinking about what your reader needs at the beginning to get into the funnel of your ideas. And then you need to be really clear on what are the fine ideas that you want that reader to take with them at the end. And if you start to write and you haven't done this prior work, your work will suffer. if you do just even 5-10 minutes, take some time, think about the reader, put the ideas into a funnel, you will be on much more solid ground no matter what you are writing. Even a letter home, much more solid ground. So this is the one that I put together for the day. And these are all, by the way, in the handouts. So if these ideas are interesting to you and you want to play with them in your own world, I've given them to you in slides so you can actually move things around and do your own thinking. So our question then is, how do we take this flow of stuff, I'll call it, because it comes in so many forms, to writing? And then with that, how do we include our reflective practice? So we start with the funnel, and the funnel for me ends up in Evernote. It could end up on a piece of paper. I could be writing as well. And I use Remarkable when I want to write and I want to keep it. So it's another kind of tablet where I write. Some of you have different things that you can write. But however it works for you, either with a handwritten process or a typing process, you want to think about your reader. And you want to capture those thoughts in a way that aren't going to go away. Then that probably takes you into MS Word when you start to write. And all done about 15 videos, short 5-10 minute pieces, one by one, taking apart all the tools and words that graduate students need to be aware of for writing at this level. So you take it to Word, you outline, you put in headings, you get it on a template that is the style of your university or how it's supposed to turn in. You get some basic, so you've got your ideas in the first part, you've got your template of where it's going to go in the second part, and then you might use mind map or notes to organize how it's all going to go together. So that's the first section to the left. All right, now, then we get into the question we've had all along on these. Are you going to use it right now? If so, you blip across the middle and you are now looking at the red diamond, and you're going to probably, what I recommend is that you put ideas into folders. So if I'm writing a book, or if you're writing a dissertation, and it's going to be a standard 5-chapter type dissertation, then you're going to have 5 folders. And some things that you know you're going to put, some basic PDFs that you know you're going to put in the background section are also going to be in your lit review. In fact, a lot of them will be. And it's okay to have the same PDF in 2 different folders. What you're looking for is a folder that you can open, and voila, there are all your ideas. There are the links to your mind maps. There are the documents you need to read from. So for the period of time that you're doing that writing, you only have one place you have to look. And, 5 books later, I have found this is a system that absolutely works for big, complicated writing. All right, so that's my recommendation. Along with that, you're going to have your bibliographic software, because you're going to need to be able to quickly find the citations and the metadata and put your reference together. And just as an aside, I completely recommend that you keep your references separate from the main document, and because it's much easier to work with a reference list on its own. And I don't particularly care for the way the ones that put them in automatically work. It's just as easy to put in a citation and to cut and paste a reference into a reference list. And then no matter where you're getting it published, you're not going to run into some weird technological problem because they don't like how you put your references together. That's just an aside. But continuing, you've got some writing done, you've got your references in, and then you get into the part of this that has to do with revision. So revision is where we actually hone our ideas. And so a lot of the technology and things that we use impinge upon that. The first draft is, in what my experience, pretty straightforward. It's the revision in the second drafts where I'm referring again to the qualitative software to make sure I've got it right, or that I need to add a few extra bits. Or it's, bear with me, all of a sudden this laptop went crazy and things started to open. Crazy. Okay, maybe I can get back to it here. Don't you love technology? Here we go. So if I'm trying to hone my ideas, then I'm going back to my source materials, and they're often held in different places. So that's why I have them on the top list. And that's why I have this purple box thinking, because our revisions are where we really put the rigor of our mind to our work. So I see this flow of writing as being sort of technical on the left-hand side of the document, and then very mental and contained on the right-hand side. The left-hand side is uses the tools I learned how to use in the earlier days of my academic life and career. The right-hand side are the tools that I use as I get more and more expert in my field. And that's when all the tools come in. And then I just am adding at the very bottom that I'm typically writing with a PowerPoint being developed at the same time, because I can think of the flow of the funnel in PowerPoint because it's clean and it's short, and then I can add to it and make it complex and rigorous in writing. And so the two play off of each other. And then, as I say at the bottom, the very last thing is revision. I have Microsoft Word read it aloud to me, and I revise it, and then of course Grammarly and all the machine learning tools that I can, and then it goes off to an editor, because I don't turn in work to other people unless I've also had and paid for someone to take it to another level through editing. Can't see it all. No matter how good you are, you can't see it all. So then just quick note, where does critical reflection come into this? I've been using, I'm a qualitative researcher, so reflection and reflection with an X are part of my scientific pathway. But I think this is true for all of us, that our work, whatever kind of research we do, that our writing matures, our thinking matures, and it matures in stages. So in that respect, what people get at the end is a lot like an iceberg. It's just the little bit at the top, and what's underlying it, and what makes the difference between those of us that are, some people you've read, they're just so good. Everything they say is so clear. Those people have more under the surface than just what we're reading. And so this is a quick document just to say that it is the first writing, it is looking for content, but there's also the critical analysis and reflection. So it's just another way of looking at what I mentioned earlier. Okay, right now I'm opening up wooclap.com, and as I said, I do have at least one question coming in, and as others might be typing, I do appreciate all of you coming, especially during the holiday season. I just want to tell you that this is the last week in this month that we're going to have anything, but all through January. So starting right away after the 1st, every Monday, there's going to be a 15 minutes looking at some aspect of research. I know I'm going to cover what makes rigor as one of the ones that is happening in January. And then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, there are Zoom groups. So in the slides, I've given you the links. On Tuesdays, there's a group of people who are talking about what they want to do next after this phase is over. And we're kind of teasing through the ideas that come from those conversations, and then we go off and we look something up and we see if we can do something else with our ideas. So it's based on a mastermind group, but people are welcome to join us. Right now, we're talking about if we want to live in other parts of the world, and what we want to do if in whether it's academic and non-academic jobs. And I'm looking at Singapore and what it might be like to take PD education to Singapore. And then on Wednesdays, again, open to everybody, is a synchronous writing hour. And so it's at 5 p.m. GMT, which is noon Eastern. And then you can, if you're in the US, you can count it from there. And you come in, you mute yourself, and you just get started writing. There's usually a group of us. And then at 5 minutes of to the next hour, the alarm goes off, and we have a chance to talk about how it went. So what that does for me as a writer is it makes me get my writing in order so that I have something to do on the synchronous. And both of those 2 Zoom groups are going on this week, and then we're taking a week off, and then they'll be back in January.